thank you very much. It is really stressing to have so many roles, to play so many roles at the same time, but it allows me to look at family issues, the way everyone sees, but also behind the stage. And this is why I want to talk about exactly that part that nobody sees. What happens in a real family once you have been with them for about 6 months or 1 year, and what happens behind the court, how and what do they talk about, and which is the real sense of parental alienation. My first thought is about thinking in fronts, the evil and the good ones, and the bad judges and the good parents. There's no such thing like that. In Germany, I've seen judges are really some kind of heroes. They introduced the Kochen model. They introduced my job as a guardian ad litem, Verfahrensbeistand. They introduced access custodians, so the people that impose family court decisions. So if you can really prevent parental alienation, is exactly with that jobs. But yes, it happens, parental alienation. Even if my colleagues, I appreciate them as really committed, parental alienation is happening. So this is our justice image in Lüneburg. Well, it is really peculiar. Look at this justice woman having a look, trying to have a look. It reminds me of parental alienation. So it's justice and not that much justice. So I will not define parental alienation or the syndrome. I don't know. I don't care if it's a syndrome or not, because it will be the result of a process. Parental alienation is a process against a parent most of the time. Can be the father or the mother. And after a while, the child will be disturbed. If you call it a syndrome or not, for me, it is now irrelevant because I am a jurist. And the whole way is contrary to law. But I will not go exactly to that. I will try to show the change to parental alienation. So we have more or less, most of the time, a parental conflict. Then, according to the conflict, one parent have more influence on the child against the other one, and then use it and influences the will of the child. So you listen carefully to that and say, okay, the child said, don't want to see the father or the mother. So you have a court decision, and then the court, mostly the judge, will say, no more contact. The contact with that parent will be suspended, and then you start parental alienation. So according to German law, parental alienation should not be possible. It's against the Constitution. It's against the civil code. You have administrative measures to impose them in order to prevent them. And even the criminal code could be relevant, could be applicable, directly applicable. You don't need a parental alienation paragraph article. You have it already in the law. So why this happens? Look at the decisions of our constitutional court, which has the highest relevance, as much as important as the German constitution. You have to consider, I will point like this. No, I don't do it. It's far away. No. But look at the first one. You have to consider the will of the child, even if it has been influenced, or if you don't follow the will of the child, it may experience loss of control and reduce his or her self-efficacy, which could lead to physical disturbances or behavioral disorders. So just don't prevent parental alienation. It's bad for the child. And against that, the European Court of Human Rights, Mock versus Germany, decided against that. And in order to prevent such kind of aspects, they expanded Article 8, respect for private and family life. So this is a negative. It is an article that tries to prevent the state to go into a family. But in this case, it makes the state to be responsible for what is happening in a family. And even we have parental alienation. So why is that? What happens behind the stage? And they say, well, the first one was named by my colleague before. Yes, there's no such thing like parental alienation. So you negate that. Parental alienation, what? Or it's not considered by DSM or ICD, or worse, it's an invention of child and women abusers. You can read that also. So it is a term, if you use parental alienation in Germany, you are lost. They don't listen anymore. So don't use it, try translation or another way to name it. or what they call WWW confusion. So it is confused the well-being of the child with the will of the child, with the worth of the child, which is not the same. So if the child says, I don't want to see my mother anymore because she never took care of me, of myself, that's the worth of the child. But is this the will of the child? And it corresponds to the well-being of the child? So they make a mixture of all these things. And they say, of course, listen to that, we have to respect our children. And I give some short examples, because that's a public issue. I will not go into detail with that, and they are strongly anonymized. So you have 2 children, and the mother is depressed. The parents argue, the children go with the father, because he could demonstrate the mother could have a mental disorder, affectional disorder, depression. The longer the children are with the mother, the less they wanted to see the mother again. Everyone listened to that, and the contact with the mother was for 2 years, now 4 years disrupted. Why? What can we do? Okay, parental alienation is not okay. You describe it, it's not okay. You manipulate the child against the parent. So you all agree it's not fine, but what else can we do? We move the children out of the mother home, father home, the other parent will do the same. So we leave it like this. So you have a mother, they have 1 child, and the father marries another woman, and the first mother, or the mother, knows about that on Facebook. She's really angry. I could understand her. So it is a traumatic separation. She takes the child, and the child starts to reject the contact with the father. I talk to the judge, I say, yeah, I understand the mother, but the relationship with the father is good. So you have to protect that. And the judge agreed. So we put pressure on the mother, and it worked. But then the judge had to move to Oberlandesgericht. We get another judge, and everything was over. This judge made no pressure, and the father went home because there was no more chance to see the child. The other one is what they call the evolutionary argument. Well, you have only 1 mother, but you can have many fathers. They are not that important. And would you really separate mother and child? Or the alternative, I really heard it at the court. I bore him, so I own him. That's a mother saying that at court. I never heard that, but it was not very nice. This is the worst case I've ever heard. So the mother is guardian ad litem, has my job. So it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So in the morning, she protects families. In the afternoon, he makes everything possible in order to prevent the father to see the child. And even in that case, and after 3 reports showing she must have a mental disorder, the judge is not convinced and not breaks bond. What they call the yoga argument, only here and now counts. No consideration of long-term consequences or opportunity costs. So what happens with the child after alienation? Not if we separate it now is bad for the child, probably it is bad. But why if you don't do it? What are the consequences? And it is never considered. We have a foreign woman, pregnant, coming to Germany, speaks no language, knows not the culture, is completely dependent on the father. And the father abused that. And after a while, she gets depressed. Imagine you are pregnant in 8th month, you come to a foreign country, you speak nothing, so you get depressed. And she lived with the father. So the father, he could prevent the mother to have more contact with the child more than 2 hours a week, and only under vigilance. So, you see. And the last one would be the sustainability argument. That's the practical one. We expect our colleagues to have enough resources to decide against parental alienation, but they don't have them. So they don't have the energy, they don't have the time to decide. And in order to see a parental alienation, you never see a video showing influencing or an audio, never. You will have to look at, evidences. And after a while, you are convinced it must be a parental alienation. The guy must be influenced. But it takes time to see that. But you don't have the time. Well, I will not, I think, 1 more minute exactly. So I will not explain that, but it is just a consideration. So what can we do to prevent it? There are many ways. One of them, I told you before, try to stop the chain I showed at the beginning. In every stage, you will stop parental alienation. But there's another one. Parental alienation is sustained by a system now. And it was always possible to change systems, but it was never easy. So if you want to change it, take your time, be patient, invest energy. And how can you change the system? The system is sustained by people. And people always think, I am clever, I'm consequent, I'm fair. So, and they are convinced they're doing the right thing. So can you convince them of the contrary? They are not doing the right thing. So first of all, put them in a cognitive dissonance. Psychologists would know what is it. So you have parental alienation that's bad, and you are not doing like this. Cognitive dissonance. How can you solve the problem? And there are many solutions. One is ignorance. You ignore what you are hearing. The other is reject it. That's not wrong. That's not right. And the last one is you accept it. So this is a stage we should reach. So trust them. They want to do good. Just try to convince them. And that's the last message from my favorite character. You shall not pass, Gandalf, and you shall not pass. Thank you very much.